Hey guys, it's Mike with Florida Adventures again. I was just continuing my Seminole War uh, history here in Florida after my stop yesterday over at Dades Battlefield. And so I found another actual fort. It's called Fort Cooper. Fort Cooper, I'm about 20 miles northwest of where Dades Battlefield is. And Fort Cooper was actually a temporary fort that was created by Major Mark Anthony Cooper, and he was the commander of the 380th, I believe it was, 1st Georgia Battalion of Volunteers. Plus, he had an artillery company. I think it was just a few regular men. In April of 1836, which would have been like 4 months or so after the battle at Dades Battlefield over there in Sefner, I think it was. Anyway, Mark Anthony built the fort here, and it was on a lake's edge. And I can't remember the lake's name off the top of my head, but I'll have to give that to you guys a little bit later. It's a Seminole Indian name, and as we know, sometimes those can be a little difficult. But anyway, Major Mark Anthony built the fort basically as a temporary fort to protect the sick and wounded from a previous battle that they had undertaken against the Seminoles under General Scott. Now, General Scott left him behind with the wounded and the sick because there were some sick soldiers as well, and so he left them behind. They built a temporary fort, and General Scott was continued on to Fort Brooke, which Fort Brooke now is Tampa, which was kind of interesting information I didn't know. So Fort Brooke was Tampa, so they were on their way back to Tampa. Major Cooper, he was ordered to hold his position and wait for relief troops, basically. So, and then the relief troops were supposed to arrive after 9 days, and unfortunately, the Seminoles discovered Major Cooper and his fort over here, which wouldn't, once I make it up here, which wouldn't be very difficult to find because it's a rather large structure. It's not the original fort, but they made sort of a wall to give you an idea. It's in the same area that the fort used to be in. But the fort had since been dismantled after being used for some reconnaissance missions and so forth after they were saved. But they were attacked several times, basically by the Seminoles. One occasion, the Seminoles even tried to storm the fort, but they were pushed back. There was 500 Seminole warriors, I believe it was, that tried to attack, and finally, Major Cooper was probably thinking to himself, man, when are these reinforcements going to arrive? They said 9 days. Well, 16 days later, finally, reserve troops showed up with provisions because the fort, Major Cooper was actually running out of provisions. And even at one point, the Seminoles had even stolen what little cattle they had and so forth. So they had a bit of a rough go of it here for that time period, and I can only imagine. I mean, they're out in the wilderness. The wilderness out here is just beautiful at this state park. This area, I can't say that I mean, there were battles here, but really, Major Cooper only lost 2 soldiers, I believe it was. They didn't know what the count of Seminole Indians were that were lost, but he only lost 2 men here. So the feeling for me here today isn't quite like it was at the other location at Dades Battlefield. So it's more of a I mean, the scenery is beautiful, so it's more of a serene place. And the trail that I'm walking up, you can kind of see here. This trail is actually the old military trail that the U.S. Army used to use, pulling their cannons on wagon wheels, the horses, all their provisions and everything like that. This trail was actually the trail that was used by them to travel from Fort Brooke all the way in Tampa, all the way to Fort King in Ocala. So to give you guys an idea, it's like 106, 108 miles or something like that. And like I said, I'm roughly 20 miles northwest of where I was yesterday, where the battle took place in December of 1835. So this one happened in 36 in April. Now, I'm going to walk up this path and this trail. They actually built this fort over here right by the trail. So I'm actually going to give you guys a view. When I said they built it lakeside, over there is the lake, so you can see the lake through there, and it's beautiful. On the other side, there's a playground and stuff for kids and so forth, so you can do family day and barbecue grills and things like that. So it's pretty cool. But as I walk up here, I'm kind of gonna walk backwards for a second. But right over there, over my shoulder, is a replicated wall of the fort, and I'll go up there a little bit closer. But basically, that's where the fort was, that area. So, you know, imagine, I'm just gonna turn it around this way and walk forward. Imagine yourself being in this fort in 1836, April of 1836, and the Seminole Indians, more than likely coming across that lake or from the sides of around the lake on their canoes or whatnot, because that lake, you know, was 170 years ago or something like that. I imagine that lake was probably up a lot further. There was probably a lot more water in that lake at that point, but they were probably, you know, at night in stealth mode coming across the lake. And imagine being in this fort and taking fire, because the Seminoles did use muskets that they had gotten from the Spanish when the Spanish used to own Florida. So they used bow and arrows, obviously, but they also mostly used muskets. So, you know, being attacked as many times as they did, I couldn't imagine. You know, you try to put yourself here in that situation. And it was a good thing that that Major Cooper built the fort, because the fort is basically what saved them. And then, like I said, it was used as a reconnaissance dispatch during the Seminole War. I believe it was used all the way up until the 1840s, mid 1840s, late 1840s or so. So again, this isn't quite as awing, so to speak, as where I was at yesterday, but it's still pretty cool. I guess mainly because most of this fort isn't in contact, you know, isn't here today. So, and this is just a replica. So, but it's a beautiful sight. And as you're walking down the trail, the old military road, as you're walking down the old military road, there are kiosks, and I'll upload the pictures of those. I took pictures of some of the kiosks. There's 4 or 5 kiosks from where you start off at. And there's a few trails. You can come out here and walk trails and walk around wherever you want to go. It's a really beautiful place. The wind right now, I don't know, you can probably hear it, but there's a beautiful breeze coming off of the lake, and the sun so far has been beautiful. I've taken some great lake shots and some panoramic shots. So, but again, this is Fort Cooper. I posted the Google Maps GPS screen capture earlier, so that you guys can kind of see where it is if you want to go to the page and check it out. It's right near Inverness. It's sort of on the borderline of Floral City, which I uploaded a picture earlier of, which is a beautiful little town. Looks like a little quaint, sleepy sort of Florida frontier town, and probably 5 minutes north of here is Inverness. So it's a beautiful area. There's they do reenactments here on occasion. So as you can see, there's bleachers and so forth here, and some picnic tables and things. And then that trail that goes down that way takes you around sort of a scenic route around the lake. It's not part of the old military trail, but it takes you around the lake there up to the playground on the other side. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to continue walking just a little bit longer. I've been out here a little longer than I probably wanted to because it's just a beautiful place. But and especially if you're into nature, there's a ton of nature around here. So many different kinds of birds out there on the lake. I'm not really a bird watcher, but there's some cool birds out there too. Every time I see birds, I think of my sister Susie. I don't know why. Those of you who know her on my page will know that she appreciates her birds. So I was just going to walk down here a little bit further because I thought the actual sign that showed the military road was down here. But it appears that it's a little bit further than what I thought. But this is the final kiosk before you get to the fort. And as you can see, this picture right here sort of portrays what the fort looked like at the time. So an artistic version. But anyway, and so then it goes through there, and each kiosk sort of explains everything that you need to know about what happened here. So it's cool because, you know, it's a historic place. Again, it's a state park, Fort Cooper State Park. So the park rangers that are here are super nice. The guy that, when I came in, told me all about it, told me the places to look at and the views to get and so forth. Really nice guy. So I told him, usually like yesterday I pulled up and said, hey, I do a Facebook page called Florida Adventures, and I stop in random places and find them on the internet and take a look at them because I think they seem pretty cool. And so he told me everything I needed to know, gave me a map, drew stuff for me. So he was a super nice guy. And then I ran into another park ranger down here who was actually cleaning the military trail off from leaves for the fall, and he was a super nice guy too. So anyway, I made this video a little bit longer than I probably wanted to, but I'm probably gonna be heading out of here shortly. Again, it's fairly centrally located. If you're anywhere in Central Florida, you can probably get here within an hour or 2 hours or so, and kind of spend the day, pack a lunch or bring some sandwiches or something, and sit down there on the lake and relax and enjoy the day. So thanks again for watching. Appreciate the support from you guys, and have a great day. Peace.